concerning hobbies.
And let's see, this is episode 4, so welcome everyone to episode 4 to the new revised The Iron Podcast. I am co-host Ammoreli.
And I am Ghost Man. Welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you here.
So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the name change.
Ah, yes, dropping this bomb on me live,
Yep.
I see. Yeah.
It's like I'm just gonna, just drop it live. Yeah. So no, I decided to change it just because it's like one, we got the gaming community over there. And two, I was just like, I tried and did that. That's in the past. Let's do something new, right? So everything's in the middle of getting changed. The what is it? The intro, all that great stuff is in the middle of getting changed right now. But I thought the Iron Podcast with, the community, the Iron Guilds was pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly doesn't matter to me what you want to do. This was all your brainchild anyway, but yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, it makes sense. It's all in one place, one-stop shop. Yeah, funnel people towards towards the community. Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see, episode 4, which is gonna legitimately be pretty much the same thing, but a little bit more in depth than the last time. On the episode 3, we're gonna be talking about Star Citizen, but they had a nice little dev live stream, and also they released patch 4.0.1, and let me tell you, the game is in the best state it's ever been. No, it's a shit show.
Well, the funny part is, all right. So let me bust out these.
One other thing though.
Real quick here. Hold on.
Yeah, one other thing is like, reason why we didn't have a podcast last week is we came together and was like, you know what, just doing one every single week of the month is kind of fucking rough. So we decided that the first week of every month, we're just gonna take a break. So yeah, just deal with it. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it works out well. That way we don't get burnt out anyway too. Gives us a little, just a week off, so to speak, every month. I think it'll be fun. Yeah. But I think it's fair to say too, everything is kind of subject change at this point, right? So at this point, it's just kind of like don't get,
Yeah, just trying to get in a groove, trying to
the right to figure it out.
To figure out like what we like to do, what we want to do, stuff like that. Best times and days, but yeah, let's see, Star Citizen. So we're gonna talk about the patch on launch day, how fun that was.
Oh yeah, so lots of things. Yeah, so to be fair, all right, since the last time we talked about it, I do think it's fair going into this to just say I had not actually played the game officially. Like I think I said I touched on it, I got in, got locked out. I think that was the last thing. Well, boy, let me tell you, since then a lot has happened in the world of Star Citizen, everybody. And so yeah, with that caveat, I'll let you go ahead and open up. Yeah, it was a rough launch for sure.
Oh yeah. So let's see, launch day. I want to say you were doing pretty well. I was at work, came home, and just shit happened. Like Elevators.
So overall, the elevators, everything's kind of hit and miss at this point. So it initially, everything was broken. We could not do anything. The elevators would never work. The game, you'd be lucky if you could actually get out of the station, get to a place, and get back without the game crashing, requiring you to unload. Or log out and then spawn back at your freaking starting point and do all the stuff you just did, lose your cargo, etc., etc. Pretty much unplayable, right? And then they did a couple hot fixes. They had a special little thing where on top of the live environment. Well, actually no. Before that, they tried to keep both environments up. So they had the 3.24 patch plus the 4.0 launch, right? And they tried to do both for a while, and then they finally fixed it and did the hot fix. And that was
I think that was like the first day too, right? Like all of a sudden,
very fast, very quick. Yeah, they've done a lot in a short time.
Like I joined 4.0.1 while you were still playing 3.2.
Well, no, because actually what had happened was we were both thinking about going back. Like 4.0 was so bad that we were both thinking about going back to 3.24 because at least then we might actually be able to play it. But as soon as we were, I kid you not, everybody, first time in my life I'd ever seen this happen. A fucking launcher mid-download, all right, automatically updated to 4.01 and just worked. Did not require me to uninstall, reinstall, anything. Just, phantom updated mid-install. We would have never known had you not seen it.
Yeah, it was literally just, okay, let's delete 4. That's, I think, what bothered me the most, right, was we deleted 4.01 because it was ass. It was shit. Nothing worked. Whereas went to go download 3.24. And then all of a sudden we just look and it was back to 4.01 because in that time they just decided, genius of genius of them was like
first launch, I think, right?
Yeah, it was like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to make everything 4.01. And I know you wanted to go to a stable build 3.24. Nah, fuck that. Everybody's doing 4.01. Boom. So then mid-download, like you said, it just
did nothing. It was still just as bad. Like it was arguably a little better, but it was still just as fucked. So yeah.
Yeah. It was so bad. So then finally that downloaded. And we're like, cool. But then you had to verify the files because, of course, come on, something like that happening mid-download, something's going to be missed.
My bad. Yes, you're right. We did verify it, but...
And there was, I think, like 4 gigs that we had to re-download or whatever, but...
Oh, yeah, and the phantom gigs. I did forget about
those
too. Yeah, you're right.
And it wasn't that bad, but the game itself was just a shit show. I think... Hell, I think a lot of times was what? I've died from elevators not working, which has been around fucking forever. I threw one of my pistols or a knife down on the ground. Went right through the fucking floor.
Yeah.
Spawning ships from the terminal.
Oh, yeah, the ships and the spawn.
All of a sudden, it'll just be destroyed. Or you come in and
for a while, every time you logged in, it was destroyed.
Yeah, or my Drake Cutlass. Like my Drake, I spawned in, I go to my hangar, and it's playing a dance because half of it's in the floor still. Like,
yeah, I had that happen to me a lot more recently too.
And then the warp problems, sending you into planets and the suns, just blow up.
Yep. Now, so arguably, all right. So then, because a lot happened since then too. So that was when they forced us into 01, and it was still a shit show. Now, in their defense, so things I've seen so far in short time. Now, don't get me wrong. I just got onto this train, right? So I'm coming in with 10 years of patience. A lot of people don't have, right? Because I have not been watching this very closely ever. But in 1 month, they also released 2 hot fixes on top of that, right? Trying to make it stable. And I do gotta say, currently, it's actually been fairly alright. Do not get me wrong. Mileage still varies. And the biggest issues that you have are like getting locked out of the shards and everything. But, it's not a game you can really pick up and play, right? It's like you come in, you got an hour, you got like a fucking hour. You might as well just play something else because in that hour you might not even get in, right? You might not even be able to do anything,
Uh,
and unfortunately that's the case. But if you
Your
got more
quantum fuel
time,
going by, you go refuel the quantum fuel. All of a sudden,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
Well,
you
bed
lose all your
logging
quantum
does
fuel
work
halfway
now, and that
through.
does help.
What's up?
I was saying at least bed logging works now because
Yeah, see, but that's the problem, right? Is I should not have to do it.
oh no, you should not have to fucking do it,
After
especially not
10
now.
years in development,
Yeah, we also have a video to talk
bro,
about
yeah,
too.
that dev, like the dev blog or the dev stream, right? He hit it, right? He asked the guy, the engineer, what in the fuck have you been doing? Because it doesn't feel like you've been doing shit.
Yeah, so things. The only thing I gotta say about the video, because I'm pretty
The
sure.
only thing, huh?
Oh, not the only thing, but going into it, the caveat I want to say about the video before we start, or I give my take on it is like that guy definitely gets paid by the company. All right, like the media man, like you can tell
Yeah.
his job is to put on a show. Because like here's my take on it, right? And this is just how it looks. 10 years in development, it like to be fair, it feels like with this server meshing stuff, they can like it's almost like they've been waiting for this revolutionary advancement in computing technology to be able to even start to make this more than
Which
just like
fair.
a Starfield or something like that, right? Like a normal kind of fucking space game, right? You know what I mean? Like traditional, right? With loading screens and everything that we're used to, like Fallout 3 and stuff, right? But it's weird because it's like for the last 10 years though, it's like cool, they have this now, but it's like for the last 10 years it almost feels like they've been dragging their feet. Like what have you guys been doing? Just biding time, right? And it doesn't look good if that is the argument whenever you've been spending that time actively pursuing hardcore marketing for ships and ideas and material essentially for a concept that you can't actually realize yet. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part I think that a lot of people have an issue with overall. But I will say this: that's who cares? Because from my perspective, playing the game, it is fun. Okay, like at the end of the day, the game is fucking amazing, right? Like I have been loving it. When it works, it like there is nothing else like it, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because God knows I feel like I am now held hostage by this fucking piece of shit because it's like it's the most beautiful piece of shit I've ever played in my life, right? And it's like so now I'm vested, now I care, now I'm like sitting here like, okay, motherfuckers, would you do something with it, please? Because it's like it is a good game. So it's like even if they never touch it, if they just make it fucking run better, which is like what they want to do this year, right? But heard that before. I guess 2018 they said that initially, right? If they do that though, great because fine. Then at least you can have fun. You can do whatever. It's got the barest of bones, but I've played worse. Like honestly.
Well, yeah.
So it's like
The thing is like, since we like kind of skipped ahead a little bit on it,
sorry.
is that like, yeah, the problem is like people will be like, and they always ask, why do you play it then? Because it is shit. But like you said, it is the best shit in the genre of space sims. You might have Elite Dangerous, but I can't walk around in my ship in Elite Dangerous. You might have Starfield, but that's loading screen simulator.
Yeah, arguably that's just hearsay. I never actually played Starfield, but that was one of the biggest downsides. Like, if
I've
not
got
the
hours
only
into it.
downside yeah, exactly. If not the only downside that you were saying was the loading screens, which is fair, right? Because
It's like, yeah, it's like when I play a space sim, I want to fly into the planet, go from one planet, fly out, travel that space. I don't give a fuck. I'll hit quantum just like this, but I should be able to get to the next planet system and fly into the planet. There, to get down to the planet from space, you hold the little X button, which I'll show you later tonight, and boom, it does like a cutscene of, oh, you're landing your spaceship. No, Fuck that.
No, right?
So
Yeah,
like,
you don't even get to pilot it, and that's
yeah,
the
like
fun. And see, that's my thing. I've always been like a dogfighter kind of guy. For me, it's about the spaceship control. It's about flying the ship. You know, anything, whether it's cargo, you know, everything in that is a beautiful thing. Like flying in this game feels better than Elite Dangerous, even, right? Like no matter what, it feels better to me, right? Like the physics I think are on point as long as they're working. Sorry, but please continue. You load in, right? Starfield.
but yeah, so you just load in and stuff, right? So it's kind of like Skyrim, right? Think of loading into a planet like loading into a town.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you're walking into fucking New Vegas, right? And it's just loading,
Yeah,
loading, and you're in. Yeah,
yeah, and
it's pretty
that's what
lame.
it
Not
is,
gonna
right?
lie, especially
Don't get me
nowadays.
wrong.
Like, cause No Man's Sky spoiled me because like that was the first one I actually can remember having that experience in, where I was just like, and it blew my fucking mind, right? And it's like once you do that, there's really no going back. You know,
Yeah,
like you can't
and like
really undo
don't
that.
like don't mind me. Like I do enjoy the game. Like I really like Starfield. I think Bethesda did a good job. And don't also don't get me on the fucking the whole tantrum of fucking Bethesda, like making you fucking pretty much like allowing people to sell their mods on it. So pretty much all mods you have to buy, and like I don't want to fucking deal with that one
Oh, so
and get
I
into
mean, I'm not
that.
gonna lie. Well, long story short, just tell me if I'm wrong when I talk about it, but I do want to guess. It sounds similar to something they had on Rust, where like you could create your own custom stuff and then put it on the marketplace to make
Yeah,
real money. Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep, yep. I
Which
got you.
good, right? Because like we saw with Skyrim, like those modders and stuff, they put in a lot of time. But it's like I liked my free mods. I didn't like I don't like having to pay for it. I understand why they did it. So these people that do put in hours into coding and creating shit have a way to be able to technically and essentially make it a full-time job, right?
Well, and this is the thing. I do see that argument. Like that's the argument they make
Yeah.
to try to make it sound like they've got your best interest at heart. But I do honestly believe that it is more of the company's way of capitalizing on that underpaid kind of labor, right? Because those people are not making as much as a fucking,
No.
developer on the team that they would actually have to pay to actually develop
And
this
they're
shit,
essentially fixing shit that should have never been there in general from launch and shit. Yeah.
Exactly, and they're pretty much doing all the stuff that the company should have did from the
Yeah.
beginning for pittance on the
But
dollar, right? And that's why
yeah,
I
but
don't
I
agree.
digress.
Not
That's
to
a
say
whole
that.
nother fucking rant to go into.
Oh yeah. But no,
But
that
like,
is a topic for another day.
yeah.
For sure.
But
We'll
like,
get
so
into
like
that.
the
We'll get
dev
into that.
stream, right? It's cool. It was fun. Like you said, he does work for the company, but it also seems like he got the green light to ask the hard questions and finally be like,
Almost
bro,
sounded like he went rogue. Like to be
yeah,
fair, like I was looking at it from a perspective where he was acting, because that's what I was gonna say initially. Back to the point that we were making, right? Is like going into like the discussion. He was a paid employee, and I do feel like at a certain point, 10 years of PR, like they are putting on a show for the audience. For example, like whenever he uses words like I'm glad you said, like he's saying like what the fuck have you guys been doing? And he's like, yeah, because that's what we're saying. It's like, hell yeah. Like when we hear him say that, it makes us feel better about it. But at the end of the day, you gotta wonder how much of that is just really, really well planned deflection. To
well,
try to
it's
get them
also,
to,
so
maybe.
there's that, but it's also like, so coming from somebody that has spent time coding, like minor shit, like right now I'm working on the community's Discord bot, right?
Right.
Because I'm tired of spending money on other fucking companies' Discord bots. So I was like, you know
Oh
what?
yeah, it makes
Fuck it.
sense.
I make my own, I host it, and I just pay the hosting fee for
Oh, that's
everything that I
actually
want,
pretty cool.
right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna utilize, like, so for certain games, I'm just gonna utilize the free API that, like Blizzard gives you for WoW, or like Scryfall for Magic the Gathering cards and stuff. And I have it all under one bot. But I do understand what that engineer was talking about certain things, right?
No,
So
no,
like,
absolutely. I mean, I agree with what he was saying. A lot of it
so
makes
like
sense and
there,
plays a
yeah.
point. Yeah.
And he was talking about how like, yeah, there are problems, right? There has been problems where they've come up and fixed something, it caused another bug, or a bug
Oh
caused
God.
another bug and another bug. It's like it happens. Hell,
Yeah.
we were technicians. We know that a
I
one
mean, that's
bug,
just that's troubleshooting 101,
yeah,
right? Like that just
yeah. And but that's the problem, right? Is like for people like us that know how to troubleshoot in that like way and everything else, that's not the norm. Like a lot of
Oh no,
people
yeah.
will look at
Like
it and be like, well, it's your job. Just fucking do it. You're supposed to be the expert.
no, yeah, I see that argument all the time, and that's
Yeah.
not a fair stance at all. Like,
And
that's just
it's
coming
like,
from lack of
there's a
understanding.
lot of shit that you might not ever see until like 3, 4 years down the line. And all of a sudden something pops up and you're just like, well, fuck, I've never seen this. And now I need to go to people that might have seen it. Oh, wait, those people aren't at the the company anymore. And it goes back down to the thing where it's like, he had one real lazy answer. And you even brought it up earlier this weekend or past weekend, is
Right.
the fact when he talked about like the code is bad because it's old.
Oh God, I was
And
just about to say this. Yeah.
it's like, dude, if you walk into a code, like I will play the devil's advocate, right? Because I can walk into somebody's Discord bot code, see how it's piece of shit. But the problem is it works a little bit, and that was good back then.
Right. Like
The problem
it worked well
is the
enough. You didn't
second
care
you
enough to
start
redo it. Yeah.
fucking with a code, especially if it's a baseline for like what a lot of other shit has been built off of,
Like if you don't go in with a basic fundamental understanding of how the code
you're
is
about to be
written,
fucked.
it's hard to
You
adjust it.
they could destroy the whole game or
Right.
that whole aspect of the game
Like,
by just trying to
and here's
update
the
it.
thing: it's like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Because like that was the part, like the argument that I had made exactly, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was, thinking it just when you said it was, like so. The only other point I was making too is like it did seem a little like there for a minute, and I think it is from that because I do have a little bit of knowledge about it, but you did enlighten me actually. I was gonna say it sounded a little condescending the way he was talking, because like there for the first 10 minutes he was kind of like, see, there is a problem, right? So like when this doesn't work, then you and I was like, okay, dude, like I understand there are bugs and that you're trying to fix bugs and that but like but after that it was whenever he was like, yeah, so like we just don't nobody in the company remembers how this was written anymore, so we just kind of ignored it because like we don't know how it works. And I was like, to the point where I'm like, look, if you can't go in there, because like you have to adapt, like whether they want to or not. And nobody wants to hear this, myself included, because it could fundamentally break the whole fucking game. But like, or they might have to take it down for X amount of time to make it
Well,
happen.
they don't
But
code on live service. They have
oh well, yeah, they got
their
a testing
own
environment for that,
environment.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but like, here's the thing though: it's like if they can't take the code, like they did inherit it one way or the other. The company still exists, whether the people still work there or not. Over the course of 10 years, I'm sure attrition has taken its toll on a lot of people that developed a lot of these systems that have changed over the years. But they have to grab the reins at some point, because if they keep putting it off now, it's only going to get worse anyway, right? So that was what I'm saying, is like you got to get in there and you got to learn it, or you got to get in there and you got to change it, or you got to make your own shit. Because like there is, at the end of the day, if this is what we got, because we're it's a game built on the husk of coders gone by, then we're in trouble, because there's no way to build upon it to begin with, right? Like, because you can change the servers all day long, but if the code going into it is fundamentally foreign to you and you don't know how to fix it or improve it, it's just going to continue to get worse.
Yeah, that also just goes back to basic fundamentals of coding, right? Like, I remember the first couple times my college teachers were telling me, it was like, use comments. Like, do not
Absolutely.
cluster.
Annotation is king.
Yeah,
Annotation is godsend.
like use comments in your code, because you might not be the last person or the only person to mess with this code.
Bro,
So
even
you
for
want to make
yourself,
it
I'm the most
easier for
forgetful
someone who
person
has
in the world.
Yeah, like you want to make it very easy for someone who is coming into your code with a baseline or with a certain amount of experience in that language, and they can look at your code and know what the fuck it's doing. But the problem is, what I've realized is in the gaming community, especially is bad with this, is that doesn't happen. Like, there's a lot of games out there that end up having to go through like a restructure mode
Oh yeah.
and phase because they come out and are like, yeah, it was like spaghetti code. It was like all over the place. It was
Well,
not
yeah.
clean. It was messy. And fuck, that's that's Tarkov, right?
Dude, that's so many games nowadays, unfortunately, because like, unfortunately, the culture has an attitude of meeting a deadline and then getting 2-3 years leadway to get the game where it should have been on launch, right? Because that's kind of what we've all gotten accustomed to nowadays, unfortunately, right?
Oh yeah, No Man's Sky. That's one of them. Fucking Fallout
Yeah, in their
76.
defense, though, boy, whew, they did it better than anybody else. I don't think anybody's going to top No Man's Sky either because they went above and beyond the Call of Duty. I will give them a medal for that one. And
Yeah,
they're still
I don't
chugging,
know.
dude. They're still chugging, man.
Well, they're still chugging because they
And they
finally have
haven't
a
charged
game
a
that
cent.
people are happy with, and they're
Or
doing
maybe they
great
charged
work,
a
right?
cent
Don't
now.
get me wrong. I'm not gonna shit on them for what they are doing, but it did take 2 or 3 years to get it to where it's at.
No, it's taken a full 10. Like, it's taken them quite a while. I'm
And
going to
the
give them a
problem
full
is
fucking 10,
that
yeah.
they promised on launch all that shit.
No, I absolutely. I mean, I'm just saying, credit where credit is due. There are a lot of
But
companies that would have just quit and never just done.
but
They would have
here's the
said,
thing
"Yeah,
though,
take the L, take the
is
shame, and move on." Right?
but that's the thing, right? How it I'm gonna look at them both around the same type, right? Because it's like you promised to deliver a game that was not what you delivered.
Are we talking about
Yes,
Star Citizen, No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky, yeah. So like
Yeah.
you promised on some shit, you didn't deliver, it was ass, but you kept going at it, right? Great, awesome. But I still look at you the same way as someone who promised shit, didn't deliver, and then just fucking stopped as well. Because like look at Cyberpunk. They CD Projekt Red stuck with that game to make it what they wanted.
No,
Yes,
no,
they
give them
cut the
credit too,
multiplayer
100%. Yeah.
away like they were supposed to bring, but you know, it
Actually,
is
not
what it is.
this Cyberpunk. That was a great game when I played it. I mean, it came a long way from where I heard
But
it started. Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like nowadays the problem is the fact that if you drop something on launch and it's not what you promised,
I mean, that shouldn't be
everybody's
acceptable.
minds are goldfish, right? It's like, oh, this is one promise, next game. And then they forget about it. You want to know how I
Oh, they
know?
definitely most people put because I've done it. Everybody's done it.
When was the last time you logged into Gray Zone?
Well, I was going to, and I actually was thinking about it the other day too. But the last time I thought about logging into Gray Zone, you talked me out of it because you got into it, said this game is ass,
Yeah.
and then uninstalled it before I even fucking downloaded
Bro,
it.
I was shooting people and crosshair on people. Nothing.
You were in it for like 5 to 10 minutes, to be fair. Like, I'd
You
still be willing to go in and
yes,
look at
but the
it.
problem is I went in trying to shoot people and kill people. Didn't work. Server crashed. And then I looked up and that was a main persistent problem with the game right now in that
Oh, yeah.
state was the fact that you could shoot at people and your rounds went nowhere. Like no one, they disappeared.
Right.
And it's like
Well,
when
it's
your
funny 'cause it's like, I
fundamental
feel like the game was
game,
better when we played it on launch. Not gonna
when,
lie, like the game ran better
it's
when it
like
was on
when
launch.
your fundamental game was about shooting shit and you can't shoot shit. Yeah, no, I'll come back in a couple of years.
I mean, I had a lot of fun with it when I played it previously, and it wasn't. I mean, all I remember is it ran better. It had a lot of issues back then, but I put a lot of hours into it whenever it came out. Um, the only thing that really would turn me off is the night stuff. Being able to just fucking have an OLED TV, screen and fucking just avoid night combat altogether is kind of broken. So, but like,
It's just
everything else was
like I
all
said,
right.
like it's just like games like that, and
But
it
as
comes
far
right
as
back to Star
stability, I don't
Citizen,
know. I
right?
have zero clue.
Is that at what point do you fuck up your own game and cause people and lose your fan base, right?
Well, it's
Which
like
this might not, because at the end of the day, it goes back to this, right? There's no other game that does this.
no, like I said, if they can make this run well, I mean, they could. I played a lot of I can't really compare this to anything without pissing a lot of people off, right?
I
Because
would
they'll
say,
also know, but it's like I played a lot of space games that have very similar formulas to what's already here, right? It's just, a little bare bones, arguably, sure, but the loop is essentially here, right? For a lot of core systems I see in all other games, right?
I would say, right, is if a triple alpha company wanted to fucking put their mindset and their teams to create a game like this, that's the only way I would say SIG has a problem, right?
Yeah, what if somebody actually tries to compete with them?
Yeah.
100%. Like at that
Because
point, like
it's
the only I feel like they back themselves into a corner, honestly, right?
it's kind of like
the
Tarkov, right?
situation they're at. It's like they've come too far to quit.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't really know how to go forward.
Well, they can't really quit though either, right? Because they've come out and stated that like they have enough money to finish the game.
Oh, they've said they have enough money to finish it.
Dude, it's the most expensive fucking game to ever be made.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think that's true. Can't be true. Hold on. You might be right, but I gotta fact check that though. It doesn't sound right. I feel like 700's low now. Or maybe I'm thinking of movies. I could be wrong. I don't know, man. According to Wikipedia. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's definitely up there. 700 million though. Like, let's talk about it, right? We were talking about 700 million, right? Like, it's been 10 years. I mean, over the course of 10 years, how much do you think it's cost? Like, how many people do you think they got on staff, right? Total.
I don't know.
But like, you got to wonder if like, what do they have that money after this long? You know what I mean? Like, if they had that much money at the beginning, who's to say it didn't get spent?
Yes, no.
Now,
Star
right?
Citizen is the most expensive at $630 million. 700 more. Right? The previous one was Cyberpunk with $440 million.
Okay. But yeah, 600 fucking million though. It's like, over the course of time, right? And it's like,
and by the way,
they actually have the money, right?
All crowd-funded. Not investments, crowd-funded.
Well, let's be real. In my opinion, you are investing when it comes to this game because, like we were talking about, the only way I can justify in my mind, like the only way I could see putting that shit in my mind, like spending the money on like one of the more expensive ship packs, would be to invest in the game, right? Like in a way, you are investing in the game.
Well, yes.
Any,
well, I'm saying there's like they don't have billion-dollar investors, right? Like a lot of triple alpha games and stuff that come out and stuff, they end up getting like those companies have major investors that get out money.
They got backing.
Because here's the thing, right? Yeah, because that's the thing is like they have real investors because they get money back when the game is finished and sold.
Nope.
They have a chunk of the
got deadlines and that's
of the pie, right? Compared to compared to Star Citizen, where it's like, yeah, we invest our money into getting this game completed, but the payoff is a completed game. Where
Well, and that's a good question too, though. Is like, what is a completed game in
Yeah.
their eyes, right? Because let's be real. What's the fucking finish line? Because that could be anything,
Because it's
man.
1.0, right?
Yeah, 1.0.
Here's the
But it's
thing.
like,
I will state this in my mind, right? Because it comes down to personal as well. In my mind, a completed launchable game, 3, 4. I'm gonna say about 6 or 7 solar systems, right?
right now I saw they got plans for Terra and one more, so that
Yeah.
would make a total of what, 4, 5?
So I'd say
already?
like I would say like 6 or 7, right? Solar systems. Your
Right.
fundamental fucking stability being completed.
Well, yeah, we're just assuming the game's gonna run. Yeah, like that's a given.
You have your legit prime system down packed. You have organization and player housing bases. I want those space stations. Pretty much what is on the roadmap right now for 1.0. If they get all those things done and add more living planets, right? And like cities and stuff. Like
more actual
I
occupied areas. Yeah.
yes. That and also like more wildlife. If I go to a fucking planet that can
Yeah, you'd
offer
love to
wildlife,
explore
I want that
wildlife,
shit happening, right?
absolutely.
If you show that we're going into like New Babbage where it's a city, I want to explore the fucking city.
Right.
So that's the thing, right? Like these worlds, you shouldn't just populate solar systems and be like, oh, there you go. There's your solar system.
I will say one thing. I really hope that they like, as cool as it would be to be able to walk through there right now. I do hope, given the way it is right now, walking through a small area, how immersive the game is, that like there would at least be a reason to go there. But I would also not just want them to put the only shop that sells X gun all the way across town, so to speak, right? Just to make me walk there, like, because that's the hard part about a game like this is it's like it is space GTA, but at that point, like, how many layers of depth do you add? Because then you've got a space game, right, out in space, built into a literal cyberpunk-esque game on the fucking ground because you got that level of detail in your urban environments, right?
But that's what they want, right?
I mean, ideally, yeah, but Jesus, man, like, they can barely handle what they got now. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's
they might
also
be able to
why
pull that
you
off by, the
that's
next
why you
generation.
also don't
Damn.
over fucking what, like oversell what the fuck you want.
Oh yeah. Like, let's keep our, like, I'm just saying that is ambitious, and as cool as that would be, I would rather than focus on the space aspect, because at least then
I want
that's
both.
what we're
No,
all
fuck
built-
that.
Hell no,
You are the
I want
highest
both,
paid.
yes. I want both. But I'm talking about big cities. I could live with cities being, restricted, but like, yeah, the planet itself, they could definitely put more time into, 100%, right? Like the more wild aspects of it, right?
It's just there's really nothing, right? It's like, oh, and that's another thing, right? Dude, I'm sorry, but I need for a launch of this game, I need exploration. I need a exploration
100%.
system that shows, I would say that shows progress in ways of like, Star Trek, where your whole thing, where you're making money or not, is exploration. Hey, go to this fucking planet and explore. Find some stuff, whatever.
Right. And and I'm trying to think of how they could implement that in this game, because without expanding it, of course, obviously, because like you said, 6 or 7 systems, you put all the add
There's
those
that,
points of interest everywhere,
events.
you can make it work. But yeah. Oh yeah, dynamic events could definitely be awesome. Like if you could do shit.
Bro,
like
we're
that,
in
like,
space.
yeah.
We need
pop up,
aliens.
It could be like procedurally generated, because like that's the thing, like the randomization. They could even put that where it's like, they get a database, or they put, whatever.
Oh,
of
there you go, dude.
Scenarios, and they could just roll one up for you every fucking time to keep.
I found the
spicy,
game
right?
that's like this, just shittier graphics
100%.
that I would play.
What is it?
Star Trek Online. If you think about it, it is one of the only ones that are completely functional in all of it. You can walk around your ship. You go to planets, walk around it and shit. You got space battles. All that shit.
Yeah. I look.
Yep.
I love. Look, I'm
Yep.
not saying.
Yep. It works. It
Oh
really
man.
is. It really
Look,
is.
I love me some STO. All right, it's not a bad game by any means, but like, I'm gonna go ahead and like sit there and argue that yes, it exists and separate. Like, they all exist in the same game, yes, but it is an old game. So therefore,
Well, that's what I'm
believe me,
saying.
it's
It's
more broken
old.
up than fucking Fallout 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it is suffering from that, you know, load screen hell. Though it almost feels like they are compartmentalized, right? You know. It's not as smooth or seamless as a modern.
Well, yeah. But
And
you
it's
know
also,
what?
you know, that's because
If
it's an
they
MMO too, right?
redid, and it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, right? How like so Amazon decided to tackle, and they're creating their own fucking Lord of the Rings MMORPG, right? Which is gonna have better graphics and everything else. Something that people have been waiting for, a more updated Lord of the Rings MMO. If they were to do that with Star Trek Online, dude. Mwah.
Oh no, well, and see, and that's the problem too. Is like whenever you look at like, I think they definitely should. Like, we all deserve a fucking Star Trek game like that. But here's the problem: the last Star Trek game in recent memory I can think of, we were just talking about, was Star Trek Infinite. And unfortunately, they took a stab at it and said, "Oh no, Star Trek wasn't enough to sell this game. Oh well, I guess we'll abandon it and move on." Because like, they're not gonna.
Well, I
Fucking,
think it
like,
was also the
it's an
fact
IP
that
problem, right? Like, they got to spend money for that shit.
it's also the fact that is a lot of people are moving away from those fucking Civ-like games.
Look, the problem with that game wasn't that it was a game that people didn't want. The problem with that game is it was mishandled as shit. It was almost like, remember when Warhammer Gladius came out, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I loved the concept of it, but the problem was that, you know, it is Warhammer 40K, so the game is just war. But the problem is it was a Civ game that was just war. And, you know, of course it suffered from, you know, whatever
Well, the problem is, right?
What's the company called? But, you know, it suffered from that syndrome where they try to chop it up and oversell everything. So it was very,
the problem
fair anyway.
there's also the fact that, like, what I think game companies are realizing, especially like game companies that are like in that niche of a thing, is,
and that was the problem.
let's be real.
There was nothing to do on launch.
Warhammer.
It never came out with anything else.
Let's see, Warhammer, fucking, hell, D&D, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. What people, and I don't think games have realized, is the fact that, like, those type of niche games, and especially in that genre, in that category, there's only really one actual gaming genre that fits them, and that is a RPG or a MMO RPG.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's true at all either.
Because, well, I mean, like, if you look at every Warhammer game,
I gotta say, is actually, or are we talking about Warhammer?
But like, look, all Warhammer games except for the ones that are RPGs, like Vermintide and Total Warhammer, I want to say, and stuff.
Right.
They didn't last over a year. Well, Space Marine 2 is a RPG.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's about the style of game, right? Because the problem is that Games Workshop comes out with a fucking million. Like, they will come out with, they got a game in every genre Warhammer, right? I've played most of them. Like, for example, their ARPG, Diablo clone, Inquisitor or whatever, was fucking fun. I enjoyed that. It was a blast. They did a decent job with it, right? But the issue is that the universe doesn't support a diplomatic kind of game like Civilization, right? Because there is no diplomacy. No one's talking to each other.
No,
in the
it's
year 40,000.
I'm gonna kill you.
They're all fucking murdering each other and trying to do a bunch of shady shit.
Yeah, you want to know what game fits that?
Shooters, action,
RPGs,
RPGs, anything.
Or
like that.
guess what?
They do that work well.
Or something they haven't even thought about doing, which they need to fucking do. Because let's be real. What everybody wants is something that they still haven't fucking made. Just bring the fucking tabletop to a goddamn video game.
Oh, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Thank you. Because Gladius, it was like, it is just that. And it feels like a board game because it's a Civilization clone, but it's not the tabletop, right? It's like, if you're going to fucking have me play it, you might as well just let me play it. You know what I mean? Because that would make me feel
I
better
don't think they
rather than playing a
understand
hollow
how much money
shell.
they would make if they fuck. You know, it's Game Workshop, so we all know they're gonna fucking nickel dime you for every fucking thing, right?
Oh, 100%, dude. It's
So
like,
guess what?
they're notorious.
Hey, by the way, we just launched Warhammer 40K tabletop simulator with every single thing that you can do in the game, right? It has all the rule, it has your basic book, and it starts you with two, let's say 1,000 point armies. And you
Well,
get to choose the two. And
I
then
think I have a good reason why they won't do it, though.
we charge you for every fucking thing else. Oh,
right. Kind of like
you,
do what D&D is doing, yeah.
yeah. And it's very easy because
Well,
you
here's the
nickel and
reason.
dime for the pain and shit anyways.
Well, here's the reason. That's what I was going to say, is because you got to look at like what separates Warhammer from D&D, right? Is D&D, as far as like non-digital anyway, is making their money strictly in like book sales, right? Like, yeah, they got some minis and shit and all that stuff too, but it's primarily the books, and that's why it makes sense for them to evolve it into a digital environment, because most people are fucking getting digital
But they
copies
sell
of stuff
both.
anyway. Well, but what I'm saying is what I'm saying, the main reason is like, where is fucking, Warhammer's primary moneymaker is it's not just like in your head primarily kind of game.
Right.
It's also a modeling hobby, right? So you're also, paying for those models. People want those models.
But here's the thing,
that's why
right?
they're making primarily the money.
I'm gonna
That's why they don't
combat
want
that.
to, that's why they don't want to port it digitally, because it's
I'm
going to
gonna
those sales, right?
I'm gonna combat that, right? With this, most people that do it as a hobby
Don't play the game at all. Yeah,
they don't play the fucking game.
I agree. That's
And the
probably
people
true.
that do, majority of them will send out their fucking models to get professionally painted, and then they'll play it with that, right?
I was gonna say, because most people that actually like playing the game, like me, don't really give a shit about the modeling. I
Exactly.
didn't really care about that at all.
And
That was
here's
my
the thing:
least favorite part.
to play in official ones, you have to have it painted.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, most great hobbies, Magic, things like that, the official shit is where it gets kind of wonky. Most people I know really
but
have
like,
more fun doing
but
it
that's
their
what I'm
own
saying
way.
is like, they I don't think they realized is that I don't think they will take a hit. I think they would be perfectly fine. That if anything, make more money, especially if you just nickel and dime everybody. Everybody knows what type company you are and everything else. They know you're gonna fucking nickel dime of everything.
Well,
So
and that's the thing too, is it's like also too, why would they do that whenever they have made a habit out of, like, releasing fucking game after game after game after game after game with DLC
because
after DLC after
the
DLC,
thing
because they
is
are already nickel and diming you,
right, but the thing is
they're
like
putting new
because
games
of
out, right?
this, right? How big the Warhammer 40K tabletop simulator Discord is with people painting and 3D scanning their own models, putting them into the workshop, and people playing it for free. There's thousands of people that just play the game in tabletop simulator for free.
Well,
It shows that there
why would you pay
is
for it if you can already do it, right?
why easy. You slap tabletop simulator with a fucking major fine.
Oh, well, no. See, like, look, legally speaking, they could throw their weight around. Like,
Right.
that's not what
And that's what I'm
saying.
getting at, right?
Saying,
Is that
why would people like it's? I wouldn't say that would be good for the community, though. And at that point, it's kind of morally like debatable, I guess, because it's that whole like Roll20 D&D Beyond argument where it's like, well, people are already using things or have ways of doing it, and they're accustomed to it. Now, granted, if it is already free currently, then it's even different,
because the thing is this, right?
paying, right?
And I go down to, and I believe in this full-heartedly. If you are the creator of the game, you should be able to make your video game thing, right? So like better. Because it's your game. You know the rules. You know 100% of everything you need. Because like that's the thing, right? Tabletop simulator, the actual functions and stuff like that aren't built around just Warhammer doing a war simulation on a table and everything else. It's not there. So there's still wonky shit that happens.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but I do just want to go out there and say, like, I don't think it's 100% accurate to say that just because they developed or own the game, they know what the hell is going on or is in the
But you
best
know how the
interest.
game.
Because,
Well, I'm just saying is like you should know like things should be connected a lot easier, right?
I mean,
It's
you
kind of
would
like I said,
imagine
like
they have better
when it
insight
comes
because it's their vision,
right,
but
it's the same thing with
the
like
vision gets lost sometimes.
what I'm saying is like it's like D&D, right? D&D has their map, their battle map beta. And I can pull anything from my books that is in D&D into the map. That's what I'm saying, right? It brings that seamless stuff. Also, like I don't have to look up a monster. I can just literally grab the monster, drag the token, click a button, and it shows me the stat block for it.
Yeah, it's super easy, super accessible. Anybody can do it. And
Exactly.
That's the best thing about it. I mean, it's
and that's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
As like with 40K, they could easily do that.
They could easily do that, yes. But like I said, if I'm looking at it from like one thing I expect from Games Workshop is greed. Yeah, I'm gonna call it greed simply because, you know, they are fucking milking.
Gimme money.
Yeah, so if you're looking at it from a greedy perspective, then that does not make sense whatsoever. It's too good of a thing for people that want to play it.
But they could make a lot of money.
Well, they could make a lot. Like I said, they're making more money now. Like Space Marine 2 was a banger, right? Like I don't know how many copies of Dawn of Wars have fucking.
But that's what I'm saying is like so Armada, they don't have to stop that.
All that shit, right?
That's the thing though, is like they've made 100 different type of games. So they're not stopping making games. So why would this mean like if they made the tabletop simulator, they would have to change it?
Well, because it would be more resources. They might not have the staff to do that on top.
Bro, they are literally making animated TV series and stuff, dude. It's a whole corporation.
Well, I mean,
they got the money for it.
Like I said, they just don't fucking want to, man. Like,
yeah, because they're cunts.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, yeah, like that's really all it is. They just won't do it because they don't want to do it. They're like,
which leads me back to
the models,
Star Citizen being cunts. You know, it just all comes down to the fact that this game has been out for 10 fucking years in development. We're still having the same fucking problems from the beginning. And they've said this multiple times. And let's see if we all get fucking.
Bro. So, yeah, the thing that gets me about this, too, like you mentioned layoffs. All right, let's talk about the layoffs. Because the thing that gets me about it is like, all right, cool. They're like a concern of mine this coming year. Like, I'm hopeful because I don't know any better, right? I wasn't here for all the bullshit. I haven't heard them lie to my face before, aside from the clip I saw from 2018 saying the exact same shit they're saying today about stability. But, you know, whatever. Like, okay, you're talking about layoffs, though, and it's like, so they're saying this year we're pulling back, we're going to focus on, like, does that mean that we should not expect anything for the next year? Because, you know, they could easily take that as an excuse to just... yeah,
so they said it in the video, though.
Maybe we're just not going to do... You know, yeah, they did mention, of course, they're going to try new stuff, and I hope so. But, you know, like you said, what the fuck have they been doing so far? And that is a concern, right? Does that mean, like, oh, shit, should we expect less? Like, are they actually going to even make it stable by the end of this year? And is there going to be anything else on top of it to show for it that's different today, you know?
Because like, I want to say they put a... They put a fucking a year on what Squadron, right? Or is it Squadron or is it 1.0 for 2026?
I'm not sure. I know they.
I think it was Squadron.
I think it might.
But they talked about it on the stream, and I think it was like they put a hard date, something that they haven't tried to do or haven't been doing for certain reasons, right? But they did 2026. So here's a question, right? How fucked is Squadron? And if it does drop in 2026, can they use, or will you be okay with them using excuses of, you know, less updates, less patches, less fixes with Star Citizen Persistent Universe, even though they got those coders? Because like you said, there's programmers and stuff that are working on both. Because
Right,
what's
which
supposed to
is
fix something in like Squadron could relate to Star Citizen.
oh yeah. Well, they were also talking about like this new system, right? So let's talk about the infrastructure changes too, because that's by the way, do we have time for a quick little break? I gotta step away real fast. Is that all right? Would we be able
We're
to
almost at the end of this.
Oh well. In that case, I guess one thing to touch on though is they were talking about like a new infrastructure thing, right? So like they got Joker cards, is what they're calling them, right? Where it's like, okay, well now they're gonna try to, blend these teams together, okay? But it's like here's the problem: is it's like I feel like it was always a lack of direction, like too many, or it was compartmentalized, is what they were saying before. Like every team was doing its own
I think they
thing.
use that as an excuse.
Yeah, they
It's
use it
the
as a
fact
fucking
that
excuse,
people were
exactly. But
running
like so,
amok and they had no fucking clue what people were
there was
doing.
there was no rhyme or reason. There was no focus. Like I said, it was always a lack of focus. But it's like, okay, so now we got these Joker cards, and it's like, okay, so I'm gonna send an SOS up if I need help in this critical area of what I'm doing. But that sounds good on paper. But like, what keeps that from devolving into a system where everybody's fucking shit's on fire and everybody needs help instantly and
Yeah.
everybody's splintered anyway? Like, it doesn't
How do you
make sense.
make something prio over something else?
Yeah, you still got to triage your issues. So how do you go about, prioritizing those problems anyway? Because that's the whole issue in the first place. You wouldn't need Joker cards if you could prioritize those
Somebody should
problems
have fucking threw a Joker card
effectively
for the
anyway, right?
goddamn fucking elevators.
Aye, aye, aye. You're telling me, but it sounds like that's one of those systems that's like baked into the fucking like universe. When the Big Bang went off, the elevators were
Well, it's like,
tied
yeah,
to
well,
quantum
like,
realm. All right,
and
like
you can also tell, like, a lot of people don't know what the fuck they're saying is because, right, like, since, and they even stated it, right? This is like last thing I'll hit is that everybody's like, oh, fucking just put stairs. It's like, motherfuckers, these are your instanced hangars. It means that you cannot get to your hangar without technically spawning into a whole dedicated your only area. So therefore, it's nowhere in the system. It is literally an instanced being controlled by a different server.
right.
So like
The
you
thing that
would
kills me
literally
is
run
stuck.
on a staircase forever because you'd never be able to get there. It's not
Right.
in the universe.
Right. Well, yeah, that was a big argument, and I'm glad he mentioned that because people kept saying use the stairs, add stairs, but yeah, it wouldn't make a difference because yeah, it's a whole separate thing. And the issue that I have with that whole system, and the thing that really gets me is like, there's a problem where I can't get back into the game because like I'll have to Alt F4. Like, say it crashes, say I just exit the game in a weird place, it will not let me log back in because it still thinks I'm in the game, right?
Yep.
And there's no way to fucking get out of the game because unless you go and repair the character on the website. That's the only thing I've found that actually works. And they say, oh, use this as a last resort. It's like it's the only resort I have because I could sit here and futilely relog in, log out, verify the file. It doesn't matter because this character is locked into one of your servers that is broken right now, and because my character is stuck on your broken server that is supposed to automatically flush itself but is not, I can't play the game, right? And that's the issue that annoys me the most personally. But at least there is a working workaround, but it's still like, what the fuck is going on here, right?
Yep.
And troubling news with that too is it's like I've heard that they've said they have no way of fixing character issues on their side, and I think that's a little insane. I'm not gonna lie. Like I am not. You tell me if that makes sense from your experience.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So
If
I'm
you
not
are
great
working
that
at
sounds
the
insane, right?
location with, like, that's the thing, right? It's like, oh, well, we can't fix your character or anything from our side. And it's like, how? You have access to everything. And if that's not a case, you need to fucking revise that shit, because if your excuse for someone losing everything is because you cannot access that character to help a person out because your shit fucked up, you're essentially saying that, like, hey, if something fucked up, you
It doesn't instill
your character
confidence that
wipes.
they have control over their own game. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It does not instill confidence that they're going to be able to do this amazing shit they keep promising if they're telling us that they can't fix character problems on the back end. Like honestly, I made a joke about the shit, like, you know, being tied to the quantum realm, but at this point it's like, is this game magic? You know what I'm saying? Like, what
Right.
is this process here? Like, does this actually exist in the physical world, you know, in reality, or did they just find this in a cave somewhere and now they're just trying to keep it together, right? Like, I don't know. Like, it's
But
kind of funny when you think about it, right?
yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. But to end it on a note, the reason why we play it, though, like we said throughout this whole
I
fucking
love it or hate it.
podcast, is even with the bugs and everything else, there's nothing like this game. And that's the problem.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good thing. And I'll continue trying it and everything else. Right now, it's the same loop that I've been playing, right? You're new, so it's hard on even more for you right now. It's the same loop that I've been used to. So it's one of those games right now where
I feel like
you
when you're
play for a little bit, and for a while, then you'll come back for another major patch, which sadly this year they even said
don't expect any major
don't
patches.
expect anything crazy this whole year.
Pretty much, which is a letdown. It's kind of unfortunate, but you know, hey, what's another year?
But I would rather, I would rather come
right?
back in a year and them and me log in and have no major issues and then see some new shit than continuously getting launched a patch and it breaking everything.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I'd rather them take a more, you know, you got to build the foundation first, right? And that's one thing that I've always said. I just really hope that they're actually going to do it this time around, right? Because you know, it's kind of like been there, done that. Heard this before. I'm sure a lot of people feel that
Yeah,
way.
because
But yeah,
honestly, if they in a year, if they haven't fixed shit and they went back on what the fuck they said, I probably will wait until launch.
I mean, at this
Or
point,
Squadron
I feel like
42.
I mean, aside from the super hardcore fans and the people that are already like, you know, like, I mean, honestly, you have access to it. Like, you know, even for $45, it's like I have it, right? I'm gonna keep checking in on it. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that at this point, it's almost like, you know, they're starting to get to a point where it's like they got to make something happen, right? They gotta shake it up. They gotta make it work because, you know, patience goes so far, yeah. But it's like, come on, guys. Like, it's getting a little. Even people that have been, you know, here from day one are starting to get like, what the fuck is happening right now? You know?
Yep.
Yep. But I mean, I have faith. We'll see. Time will tell, right?
Yeah.
But for $45, I will say, some of the most fun I've ever had in any game, though, bugs and all. Like, it is actually, when it works, it's fucking great. So worth it in my opinion. But for that alone,
But yeah, but that's us. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Yeah. The community Discord link I should have up this week in the comments and descriptions, and we will see you next time, and have a great week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you've listened to us ramble this long, thanks very much for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Bye.